So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFifa.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFifa for 10% off when you order. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today we are talking about Juventus and France midfielder Rabiot, discussing whether or not he should sign for Manchester United this summer. Now, before people kind of jump into the comments and say, no, don't get him, he's rubbish, blah blah blah, hear me out on this one, because I genuinely think that on a free transfer, in a year where United's budget might be a little bit tight, I think Rabiot could be a good signing as a squad player. On a free transfer to come in and be a backup player, play certain games, I kind of like the idea of it. And that is the big factor. The fact that his contract runs out in like 20 days time, 18 days time, something like that. And you know, this is an experienced footballer, at 28 years old. This guy has done a lot really. He's represented France at the World Cup, at the Euros, and he's played for some big teams in his career. He's very, very experienced. And that experience on a free transfer is kind of invaluable. So, to kind of back up this positive talk from myself, we need to look at the tactical side of the game. Where would he play in this team? Well, for me, I think it's clear that he would play as one of the advanced eights. It seems to be that Erik ten Hag wants to play with two high eights in his system. In a system which looks something a little bit like this, kind of a base five which builds possession and then two midfielders pushing higher into the half spaces. And Rabiot is certainly very capable of doing that. Now, from this position, importantly, he does still have the ability to drop a little bit deeper to kind of aid the build-up phase. He certainly wouldn't start in that position, but starting higher, then dropping in, receiving the ball, he's actually really good at using his body to protect the ball. And he's also very good at getting the ball on the half turn as well, letting the ball roll across his body, kind of taking the opposition player out of the game, and then allowing him to carry the ball forward. And in terms of take-ons, progressive carries, things like that, he is very good at driving forward up the pitch. And as I've said before, this is something that United lack. United lack those players which can take the ball in the middle of the pitch and drive forward, beat a man, break the opposition structure up a little bit. United don't really have that player. Casemiro can't do it, Fernandes can't do it, Eriksen can't do it, Fred can't do it, McTominay can slightly. So Rabiot could be quite an important player in this sense thanks to his ball carrying ability. And that is of course backed up in his EpiRef report, which we can see here. These aren't standout stats, these aren't absolutely incredible, but in terms of take-ons attempted, the 71st percentile, successful take-ons, the 74th percentile, and also the 84th percentile for progressive carries, as well as carries into the final third. And that's why I think he could play in this left half space a little bit higher up the pitch. The other reason I think this is because it's where he's literally played for Juventus this season, and also where he played at times for France in the World Cup over the winter. Rabiot could be ideal for this position, because of his ability to drop deep and carry the ball forward. Now, another way in which Rabiot is quite good at progressing the ball is by playing quick 1-2s. He isn't a player to necessarily always fire a pass between the lines, although he can do it occasionally. He much prefers 1-2s up the pitch. For example, he'll get the ball off Luke Shaw here, get it, turn, and then pass it back to Luke Shaw, who's now progressed, and then he might get it again in another area. This is how Rabiot likes to operate, moving up the pitch. He likes to move into different positions. And again, we kind of saw that in his heat map. It's mainly on the left-hand side, but he's popping up in different positions. And that would be useful for United, that ability to manipulate the opposition by moving into different areas. That is how Rabiot likes to progress up the pitch. And in terms of on the ball, he's very comfortable. His passing percentages, things like that, could certainly improve. But what I like about Rabiot is that he always has this element of calm about him when he's on the ball. He always looks very relaxed. Now, sometimes you could argue a bit too relaxed, and maybe that's why he gives the ball away carelessly at times. So that is something he would need to work on. His ball retention would need to improve to fit into this Manchester United team. However, he is a good passer, he is good at kind of playing these 1-2s to move the ball up the pitch, and he's also very good at carrying the ball forward as well. So in terms of in the middle phase of the pitch, I think he would be very useful. And importantly, he'd also be useful in the final third as well, or in the final phase. Getting into these areas, into this left half space, where he can affect play in the final third. Now again, he's more than comfortable playing with rotations. He can move out wide at times, so Rashford can come inside, that's something we could see. But also he is good at creating chances and also attacking the box. Again, it's something we saw something particularly well for France at the World Cup over the winter. And the numbers, once again, back it up if I can find them. The 95th percentile for goals from midfielders in the past year, the 94th percentile in terms of percentage of shots on target, and lower down we can also see that he ranks well in terms of his XG and his non-penalty XG and non-penalty goals. Rabiot is genuinely very, very decent in the final third. And that's another reason why he could be useful for United. Eriksen has kind of provided a sense of creativity, but also goal output in the final third this season. United do need to replace that if Eriksen is to drop to the bench. Rabiot is a player that could do that. Is it his specialty? No, I wouldn't say he's a creative midfielder, but he does contribute in the final third. Long shots as well is something that we could see him trying from the edge of the area. And all round, I can see why Erik Ten Hag would quite like him. And it does seem to be the case. Of course, Ten Hag went in for Rabiot last summer, and at the time it looked like a transfer was very quite likely. It's now the case again. For Ten Hag to keep wanting to look at him and to keep going back for him, it suggests, one, that Ten Hag likes him, but also that he has a plan of some description in his mind. And it does appear as though the plan is midfielders which play high, so there isn't necessarily that need for a massive amount of press resistance or first phase play. Rabiot would be used higher up the pitch, and that's where he's been really effective for Juventus this season. He's been one of their better players in quite a tough season at times. He's genuinely been very good, one of their better players, and for that reason, I think on the ball, in possession, I can see the fit in this team, and I can see why Erik Ten Hag would want him. Now, do I think he should be a starter? No, because I don't think he's creative enough. I don't think he provides quite enough on the ball in the final third, and he also probably doesn't kind of dictate a game as much as you would want as well at this level. But I think, again, if this is a free transfer for an experienced 28-year-old to come in and be a squad player, someone who you chuck in certain games, I think he would be a good fit. He fits the system better than what Fred does and than what McTominay does as well. Importantly, on top of this, he also does a lot of defensive work as well. He's really good at pressing super high up the pitch and trying to win the ball back in the final third, nick the ball in dangerous areas. But he's also more than happy to track back. He works hard, he covers a lot of ground, and he wins a lot of his duels. He wins a lot of those sort of scraps in midfield. And even when his teammates are kind of in those little battles in the middle of the pitch, Rabiot is always one of those players that will go across, help his teammate out, and try and win the ball back. Again, it comes because he's got a pretty big size, pretty good frame, and he knows how to use it. He knows how to get himself between the ball and the opposition. And again, that is a useful trait for him to have, and it is something which United need. Eriksen this season has struggled with the defensive work off the ball. He covers a lot of ground, but he just isn't very good defensively. Rabiot ranks much better in pretty much all of those metrics, and that's why he could be used. Especially in games, for example, against the top 6, away from home, where United might need a bit more pragmatism off the ball. Rabiot could come in for that sort of game. We've seen him do it for France under Deschamps, who's quite a cautious manager, and also Allegri at Juventus, another quite cautious manager. The fact that those two managers like Rabiot and trust him probably is the best indicator of how good he is from a defensive point of view. Now, maybe in the off game he could also play as a backup to Casemiro, although it isn't ideal, but certainly defensively he is more than capable of putting this work in. And again, as a player that you bring in on a free transfer from the bench for certain games, it makes sense. In terms of on the pitch, I think Rabiot's strengths are quite clear to see. He's a very good ball carrier, very good at driving the ball forward, and in the final third he will give you goal output, he will attack the box, which is important. And actually, just to quickly go back to that might be more important than what you think even. The amount of times that we see United get into dangerous areas and cross the ball, and there is no one in the middle to attack it. I mean, occasionally the striker will be, but even then we don't see it enough. So Rabiot's ability to kind of make up the spare, be the spare man in the box, it could actually be more useful than what you even think. So again, that could be a good fit. On the ball, you know, his passing's good, he's good at progressing the play with 1-2s up the pitch, he has a good understanding, he's very calm on the ball, he's very technical, he knows how to use his body to make sure that the opposition don't dispossess him. He kind of has all the traits which Ten Hag might want in that sort of advanced creative 8 position. Apart from actually the pure creativity, is he someone which is going to kind of unlock the tightest, most stubborn defences? I'm not too sure, which is why he might be more suited to the games against the bigger teams away from home in Europe and also in the Premier League, where you see the more defensive side of his game. The ability to cover a lot of ground, win a lot of duels, kind of support his teammates, press high up the pitch if needed, something again which he done for France quite well at the World Cup. I think on the pitch, Rabiot offers United pretty much everything that you would want, and again it's the fact that it's a free transfer. He's better than Fred in terms of everything we've spoken about so far, and also McTominay as well, so I do get the idea behind it. The concern for me comes more off the pitch, the antics with both him and his mother. I mean, we spoke about those stories last summer, I believe, when Rabiot was linked, and a lot of people were of the idea that it should just be avoided. Because the United dressing room's been interesting for a few years anyway. A lot of people are of the belief that just avoid Rabiot because you don't want the mess off the pitch. However, I can't say too much on it just because I don't know. I wasn't there for all those situations. And we haven't heard those stories at Juventus this season, for example. In terms of on the pitch, that's what we can talk about. And I do see the fit. Do I think he's good enough for the starting 11? No, not if you want to compete with the likes of Arsenal and Manchester City. He's not. But as a bench player, someone that you bring in with a lot of experience, a lot of availability, he's always reliable. I quite like the idea of it on a free transfer. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think he's good enough? Do you think he's good enough to be a starter? Or do you think it would be as a bench option? Do you think he would play as an advanced 8 in this sort of position here, or perhaps a slightly different role? And what do you think of his strengths and weaknesses? Is he what United need in the midfield? And finally, how about off the pitch as well? Because maybe you guys know a bit more about that than I do. But let me know all of that in the comments down below. Also subscribe while you're here with notifications on. It would be greatly appreciated. But apart from that, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this slightly shorter video. A quick, sharp summary of Rabiot as a player and what he could offer to United if he was brought in on a free transfer. Thanks for watching, I hope you have enjoyed it, and as always, I will see you in the next one.